Hey everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. This is season 4, episode 2. Guess what? We have the queen of Twitch, the amazing Twitch streamer, content creator, podcaster, you name it. Ash Vanderlei is joining us back on the channel. Now, for those of you that don't know Ash, she is probably the most popular F1 streamer in the whole of the US. But I don't think there's any doubt about that.
I'm not going to correct you. That sounds great. Yeah, that sounds awesome. Yeah, absolutely. For sure.
We'll take that, Ash.
I mean, who's going to correct us? Like, there's no authority on this. So we can just be like, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, but you know what? You've earned it. I hate saying the word you've earned it because that sounds like you've got to earn something, but you literally stream for 3.5 hours every single Sunday, most Wednesdays. Like, it's a lot. I don't know how you do it, and I appreciate it. And I know that a lot of your viewers and listeners do as well. So everyone, that's Ash. And Ash, welcome back to the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. As soon as you messaged me, I'm just going to let everyone know you messaged me, and I was like, absolutely. I was like, yes, please. I would like to be back on the show. I love it here.
It's always a pleasure. For the first time, for those of you who listened the last time, we were only on audio. We now have video, which is awesome. Ash and I believe Shannon Scott or McBride were actually the people that persuaded me to get onto video. So the reason you see my slightly scared but happy face is because of these wonderful people. But Ash, first things first, congrats on the 1.6 million.
Thank you so much.
Ridiculous in a good way. So apologies, British people often use a whole bunch of different ways to say, you know what, great. Ridiculous in my in my mind is fantastic. So for those of you that don't know, Ash has reached over 1.6 million accounts last year and had 1.7 million viewers logging in for your F1 watch-alongs. Talk to me. That is insane. How? Why? Where?
I guess you start talking and people will come, right? I don't know. I'm always surprised by it, right? I think a good way to look at streaming, because a lot of people get discouraged by low numbers when they start off. And I'm not saying I don't, right? I think that happens with views on videos. And I'm sure like a lot of people are talking about the TikTok algorithm right now and how it's not working out in their favor, things like that. But even if you get let's say TikTok, like 1,000 views, or if you're streaming on Twitch and you have 30 people watching.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being in a room with 30 people or like 1,000 people who watched your TikTok? I always like justify being in a room full of people. Like, right, talking to a class, talking to a lecture, and then you just keep increasing it. Yeah. So yeah, 1.6 million people tuned in for F1. And that was just F1 streams, not counting any sim racing or NASCAR or anything else we covered that year. IndyCar as well, because we covered the Indy 500. So yeah, I think it's just worked out to the community being incredible. I'm very careful with, I mean, obviously there's boundaries as a streamer, but I'm very aware of the values that I hold of being like I want to say kind, and people are like, that's so obvious. It's really not that obvious. You'd be surprised how many communities are just not nice. And yeah, not everyone's perfect, and sure, we all slip up at some point, but we're always really encouraging. It's like really wholesome to see, and incredibly great the community I've built, and everyone's just so nice and kind of just spreads the word on their own. And then we have more people join and hang out, and definitely try to cater to everyone, whether you're a veteran fan or a new fan. I don't care if you join because you think the cars look pretty. I don't care if you think that all the drivers are smoking hot and that's all you care about, or if you love the engineering aspect and you only look at the data and that's all you care about. Like, whatever you are, I am happy to have you here and talk about it and learn from people, because I think it's a big thing. A lot of people pretend they know a lot. And I was like, I'm a big fan. I feel like I know a bunch. I try to prepare the best I can for streams. But no, I'm not above Googling live while we're on stream. If someone asks a question, like, it happens. I can't know everything. So it's cool to keep learning.
No, I appreciate the, dare I say, the open engagement that you have with your fan base as well, but also with your wider community, because just watching back on a couple of your streams, not stalking, but just watching, you
research.
Of course, market research. I think you've got the best, dare I say, blend of understanding your target audience and understanding that not everyone's going to be like a tech head, and not everyone's going to want to look at what synthetic oil was used in this particular piston or in this particular oil change. But people just love racing, and I do think it's an enjoyable part of someone's life, and if you can help to enhance that, why not? Let's go for it. And I think you've done an amazing job with that. So without blowing too much smoke, we
can end the podcast right here. This was a great. I'll see everyone later. This is awesome.
Cut. No, joking. With the F1 season just having sort of started, and yes, we've had the winter break, we've had the rumor mill galore. We had Williams, Jos Capitale leaving, James Vowles replacing him. We had Matteo Binotto leaving, and Fred Vasseur moving from Sauber. We even had Andrea Seidel move from McLaren over to the Sauber group. Not in Fred's place, I understand, but in a slightly higher position. What's your thoughts on the F1 winter season, which was insane, and I knew you had some thoughts around that, but two, also on the start to the season itself?
Yeah, I guess for the F1 winter season, it's interesting how us as fans just like stir each other up. We're just so waiting with anticipation that we just all start a bunch of shit, excuse my language, and just go on the internet and stir up drama or like stir up rumors or like expectations. So like the teams can never meet them, regardless if they do super well or super terribly. We're always disappointed in some way. And it's funny to go into F1 Twitter afterwards and be like, who was the most disappointed? Which fan group? I think I understand the management moves, and I think that's one of my favorite things about motorsports is how much business is behind it.
Yeah.
Whether it's because you're changing strategists, you're changing team principles and things like that. That's always a fun insight. I feel like we don't talk about it a lot or into detail. I feel like it's like, oh, like so-and-so is leaving, this person's coming in. But I would definitely appreciate more of, I mean, I guess you could always look it up yourself, but kind of like, this is this person's background. This is why he's the best. This is why this person left. Because of course, people who don't dive into it just start rumors and speculation. It's a whole like fine balance. I guess someone could argue that they can go look at the information themselves or figure that out. But people don't like doing that on the internet. You got to give it to them. You got to spoon feed it sometimes. But I'm excited the new season started. I know I always think the first race of the season is just like a test race. I know it counts.
But
like their cars and how they've redone the cars since last year or added in modifications and things like that. It's always interesting to see what teams did and then how they do and then what changes they bring for the rest of the year.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's with Bahrain. I think when it was Australia, it was a bit more of we don't know what's going to happen because they weren't doing testing there. But with Bahrain, it's always like, hey, you've been here for back in the day 2 weeks, and now it's 3 days. You know what you want from your car, and you know how it's going to perform. It's just welcome back to F1. But I think I think there were a few interesting surprises from Bahrain. I'm not going to go on about Aston Martin. I know that everyone's like, oh my gosh, what happened to Aston? And their share price went through the roof. And I even jumped on that little wave hype, and now it's back down to normal levels before Saudi Grand Prix. So I can't get too excited about making millions. It won't happen. But yet. I do think that there were also a few other surprises at the back of the grid. You had people like Logan Sargent actually doing pretty well.
Did really well.
On their first race, you had Yuki Tsunoda sort of establishing himself as taking that progressive route, as opposed to sort of being Pierre's understudy, which I think is a bit unfair to Yuki at times. But was there anything about the race itself which you were like, oh my gosh, decent, not bad, interested?
Woof. I'm probably the worst person to ask. Fortunately, during that race, I was in St. Petersburg for IndyCar. So I was watching like at the IndyCar track.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yeah, this is a fine race. And then IndyCar happened. I was like, this is substantially more interesting. Today's race for IndyCar was substantially more fun than F1. No, it just happened to be a race. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't interesting or exciting. I am surprised by McLaren or lack thereof of what happened with them or what was going on. It kind of seemed like they were all over the place, like a dress rehearsal, like mechanic, like no one knew their place or what was going on or what's happening with the car. But hopefully they can just iron that out we'll see what happens this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, McLaren, I want to believe, right? Like,
yeah. Are you a huge McLaren fan?
I won't say I'm a huge fan. I was a huge Daniel Ricciardo fan. And like when Lewis was at McLaren, yay, go McLaren. When Lewis left, I was like, all right, well, on you guys. Literally. But I do want to see them get back to the top of the sport, right? They're giant. Well, I say top of the sport, top in F1. They're doing well in other series, but it just seems like they've lost their way a bit. I don't know whether it's because of a car concept. I don't know whether it's management.
Right.
I mean, that's not me saying that Zach Brown has done a terrible job. It's just he came in with such a bang, brought them straight back up to like I think it was fifth and fourth in the constructors. And like you said, where were they? Like, what happened? You know? Like, poor Lando's having 5 pit stops in one race. he's having more pit stops when he's having actual time on.
He's passing Esteban while he's serving his penalties every so often. Like, hey, what are you doing here? Oh, hey,
Literally.
how are you last lap? You good? All right, see you later. See you next lap.
There? Having a proper conversation with his engineers in the box, like, yeah, what are you having for tea tomorrow? That sort of.
What were you surprised about the most, I guess, watching the race?
Ooh, one, Alonso, I wasn't really surprised. If I'm honest, you could tell Aston had a quick car. Esteban Ocon's penalties, that caught me off guard. Because every time I went to get a coffee, he had another 10 seconds or another 5 seconds, or he was under investigation from the race control, which was quite interesting. But I think for me, the surprise was Logan Sargent. Saw his races in F2. I thought he would do well. But being at Williams, being a rookie, I thought, okay, cool. There goes your 20th place. Like, settle into that.
Right.
A few races at the back of the grid. See what you're doing. But when he's having a full-on battle with Yuki Tsunoda for 15th, I'm like, okay. All right, dude, you've got something behind you. Like, it's not just bravado, and it's not just, oh my gosh, here comes another rookie into the sport. You've actually, dare I say, pulled your pants up and thought, I want to make it into the top 10. And I think he climbed as high as 13th at one point before he had to retire. And I just thought, okay, cool. Here we go. Like,
I'm always surprised by Williams. I don't know. I feel like I always see a lot more of other teams on social media and such. I think Williams is trying, and I see Alex individually, not from the Williams. But I feel like Logan Sargent's really going to put himself out there a little bit more, or I don't know, do something a little bit different. I was surprised. I'm glad he drove well, and people can stop commenting on American drivers now. Ugh, the strokes get so old. But pretty surprising. Just Americans suck, or like Americans ruining the sport, or blah 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 blah. That side of F1 Twitter, which we won't.
Yeah, we're not going to touch on that today. I already lost one.
Oh, we can.
I'm joking.
We hear so many people angrily typing already as they're listening to this podcast. They're like, "How dare you?"
If we were live, I'd be getting flamed right now. But you know what it is? I think yes, there's an avenue to say, okay, cool, we want to expand F1. Fantastic, we've done that. Get over it. Like, if you've got an issue with American drivers, then you should have an issue with British drivers. You should have an issue with Asian drivers. It doesn't matter, like, as to where you're from. If you know wheel, as the intern says, you know wheel. So, what does it matter?
And it's always been about who has money, right? It doesn't, like, his Logan Sargent's family just happens to have good money, good sponsors and such like that. Like, it is what it is. It's pay to play sometimes, and we know that.
It happens. I mean, I was talking with David Noble on Saturday about this. Lance Stroll, money.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he's not a bad driver. Is he the best? No, but you can afford it. And I'm sure, like, if you and I could afford it, we'd be in an hopefully F2, F1, F3 car as quickly as we could. It's just the way the world works.
I'd be in all kinds of racing. Are you kidding me? I'd be doing like Dakar Rally. I'd be doing GT World Challenge. Whatever I could afford, I'd just jump in.
I mean, that's a good question, actually. If you had the money or the opportunity, and we'll touch on your IndyCar experience in a second, what would you do? Like, what series would be your preferred choice? For me, it'd be WEC. But what would
WEC is pretty cool. I agree. But besides WEC, to give a different answer, I kind of like Extreme E. It'd be pretty cool because I think they do. My big thing is like the traveling, right? Sure, IndyCar would be sick, but then I'm kind of in the United States the whole time. I'm like, okay, fine. I've been here. And no, I think Extreme E would be really cool.
Sick. Any preference on team that you drive for?
I'm just gonna say McLaren because then I can go through the weave of all motorsports, whether it's IndyCar when I decide to retire in the United States, in my motorsport career, or go to Formula One, fill in as a reserve driver if they ever need that.
Daniel Ricciardo, except
yeah. I could be a marketing ploy. That's fine. I could be a personality hire. I can absolutely no problem.
Yeah. That's out of my heart, but anyway, that's Daniel's choice. It's what he wants to do. But no, I think that's quite interesting. Extreme E is something which I think I've seen like 2 races. I haven't watched a lot of it. It looks interesting. I really hope that the concept can grow a little bit more, because I think at the moment it's still quite niche. And over here in the UK, I think it's on like Channel 4 from time to time, and everyone's like, oh, okay,
yeah,
like, what is that? Why are they racing? What's different to like Dakar, for example? So yeah, that'd be cool. But cool. All right. And I mean, just thinking on racing experiences, For everyone that doesn't know, and I don't know, I'm speaking into the mic because if the camera's over there, it's not.
Super important.
Of course. But Ash actually had the experience of going into a IndyCar a couple of weeks back. Do you mind just telling us a bit about that? Because one, when I saw your post on Twitter, I thought, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I was about to comment, but I thought, don't spam. And secondly, I thought, what a terrifying experience. So talk to us. How was that for you?
It was insane. My mom has some strong feelings about that weekend because on Friday I was fortunate enough to be invited to the Circuit of the Americas in Austin. Oh, yeah? They had like a MotoGP media day, so I was on the back of a motorcycle and with a professional driver from BMW, and we went around the track, a lap in 7/8, obviously back into the pits. And my mom, very strict anti-motorcycle.
Okay.
Do the Indy experience thanks to McLaren. And she's like, this is substantially safer. And I'm like, I don't actually know. I'm going to be honest with you. We weren't going that fast on the motorcycle, but I felt pretty safe with him. Meanwhile, if something happens to this car right now, but it was incredible. And I wish I could always like bottle those feelings of either adrenaline or it's just when you're sitting in the 2-seater IndyCar, it is sunset in St. Petersburg, Florida. Yes. So beautiful weather. It's not hot. You're not sweating crazily anymore. It is like 5 in the afternoon, 4 in the afternoon. Sun is setting, so it's perfect golden hour. And then you have like the moon picking up, and then you're on the straightaway. So it's just like palm trees, perfect weather. It's just like I want to bottle that moment. I keep replaying it in my head because it was perfect and it was insane. And I understand that I was in the back, so I couldn't see the upcoming track. So I couldn't like brace myself or like get ready for the turns. But and I'm aware that these drivers are incredible athletes. But the amount of neck strength you freaking need is insane. I understood, but till you experience it, you're like, damn, this is all like I respect in general, but it's like a whole new level. Like to pop like 3 Advil afterwards to be okay. It was an incredible experience.
That's awesome. I mean, it's the neck strength alone to be in the car is probably much more substantial than anything I've ever experienced. What would you liken it to? Is it anything? Would you liken it to, let's say, like being on a roller coaster or being on, I don't know, being like, it's hard to fathom.
Yeah, I think being on a roller coaster, honestly, is like the closest example I can possibly give someone to what it feels like. And you're also sitting so low to the ground. I knew, like, of course, we all know this. Like, they just sit low. But till you're in the car and you're like, oh my God, you're like, holy crap. And then going really fast and then the braking and stuff like that, you're like, oh God, oh Jesus. And then doing that for 2 hours, 3 hours, depending how long a race is insane to me.
That's nuts. So do you think your mum will let you back into an IndyCar?
She's totally fine with the car, not a motorcycle, even though we were like super protected and not going crazy. He did do a wheelie on the straight, which was cool.
That's pretty sick.
That was pretty sick. I'm not gonna lie, that was pretty awesome. The motorcycle was awesome. But yeah, the Indy experience is pretty cool. And like you said, I got to shout out Air McLaren because for setting that up for us.
No, that's pretty awesome. So everyone, whilst we were watching a bit of a boring race, Ash was having like the weekend off her racing the line.
Everyone's like, this F1 race is cool. Fernando Alonso, awesome. Meanwhile, I'm in IndyCar, just like living my best life in Florida, just racing around and getting the hospitality suites.
No, that's sick. That's sick. And I think when it comes to, dare I say, like your future, gosh, that sounds very ominous. Like
now you sound like my mom for sure.
Oh gosh, yeah. No, sorry, I'm definitely not. No, but when it comes to like what's up for you and your community going forward in 23, like what's new? What's on the horizon for you?
2 things that I can't tell you about yet. But they will be happening soon-ish. Motorsports is a lot. I think people will be fascinated by motorsports. Is a lot of people having, actually 3 things now that I'm thinking about it more. It's a lot of like, hey, we have this great idea. Everyone's super excited. It's a big rush of like emails, meetings, blah, blah, blah. And suddenly you don't hear anything for like chunks of time.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, is everything okay? And then all of a sudden it's like, we're doing it tomorrow. And you're like, oh, Jesus. Okay. It's a lot of that in motorsports, and like everyone Sure, it is corporate America, right? There are businesses behind these motorsports and there's teams, but everyone communicates whether like everyone wants to meet on track because that's like the easiest. Everyone's there and everyone can make those decisions quickly, or like all the decision makers. You can have a meeting with someone and they'll go to someone because they're right there. Like they don't have to go to an office or set up a meeting. Like everyone's just at the track meeting and making these decisions. And two, everyone loves to text. It's like coming from like a corporate America setting. I'm so surprised that everyone just like wants to text. Like I'm texting like vice presidents and stuff. They're like, yeah, sure, sounds good. I'm like, oh wow, just getting emojis. It's like, this is wild to me because I'm very not professional, like, just an email like, hey, nice to meet you. Thank you so much for your time.
Yes.
Appreciate it. Chat with you soon, Ash. And then they'll text me and they'll be like, K, like literally the letter K, THX, thanks. See you tomorrow. Like, this is so shocking. And everyone wants to do everything through text really quickly. So yeah, some really cool things that I wish I could allude to a little bit better. I guess let's oh dear. What can I tell you? I mean, I haven't signed any NDAs or anything, so I'm technically not breaking any rules.
But nothing that will put you at risk of
like. I appreciate you looking out for me.
Yeah.
Definitely this year we've added NASCAR and IndyCar watch-alongs to the stream channel. A lot of folks probably know they started with Formula One because that was what I was most comfortable with 2 years ago now. And since then, the community's kind of just grown as a general motorsports community because we'll talk about IMSA, WEC, right? We'll go to Daytona 24 and such. And we've been to NASCAR races last year, and people are like, hey, just add that to your watch-alongs on the weekend. I'm like, oh yeah, cool. So easy. Who needs a life on the weekends? So we'll do Formula One as per usual, and then we'll do IndyCar and NASCAR. But the priority is obviously getting to a race and doing things from there, whether it's coverage or streaming is sometimes hard because if there's a lot of people, we're all sharing the same cell phone tower. So getting service is difficult. But I do my best. Like I streamed from Coda when I was doing the motorcycle thing, which was really fun. Nice. When I was in Phoenix for NASCAR finals last year, I streamed a little behind the scenes before the service was really bad. I think I streamed for like 45 minutes. We had like 500 people, like easily. Just tuning in there just to see like the garages and the pits and everything was pretty fun. So yeah, trying to get more races. If anyone knows anyone in IndyCar or Indianapolis Motor Speedway, think about, look, listen to this, everyone. Ready? So it's my watch along, but at Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the Indy 500. I could be in a broom closet. I don't care, but I'll be there at the track. And of course, I'll tell everyone to go to Peacock or NBC or wherever your TV rights are. But I'll do my watch along live from the track. Like, how cool would that be?
Sick.
Oh, it'd be sick. But NBC would send a bunch of angry peacocks.
Yes. No. Maybe.
Probably.
Maybe.
Yeah, trying to keep pumping out the content. Doing a lot of things for women in motorsports with some organizations, which is really cool, whether it's supporting or telling their stories, getting to interview a lot of badass drivers and folks in the paddock.
Okay.
And then, hopefully attending more races. So that's the big things for me. Nice. Miles, I want to tell you so bad. I don't want to break it here on the podcast, but I can't.
I mean, it could be breaking news. I could have an exclusive. I could be like the, what's that guy that does? I could be the Jimmy Kimmel of F1 sort of having breaking news, but I also don't want you to
of like content creators. You should do that. You should be like the motorsport content creator newsbreaker, because there's someone who does that for COD and somehow extremely popular, like just breaks news for Call of Duty. And it's insane how many followers someone has for just doing that. And I was like, damn, there's definitely a market for this.
I could see Denny in that role, in that type of role in the future if she wanted it. That's sort of exclusive. The shams off F1, if anything. But look, I realized we've got about couple of minutes, so I just wanted to touch on NASCAR. No, it's all good. It's all good.
Talk so much.
We get excited on this show. This is what Miles on the Grid is for. The only thing is I need to.
This is why I stream 3.5 hours, by the way, because I talk so much. The races are actually 30 minutes. It's me talking for the rest of the time.
Honestly, this is why I'm going to get into streaming probably. Just one, because Zoom is an absolute nightmare, and if you go over a certain amount, if you on a certain plan, horrible. But at the same time, if I have a free Sunday and myself, my wife, and our dog aren't out on a walk, I will have F1. Indy. But anyway, I want to touch on the fantasy team. So I know that you've been getting into fantasy with NASCAR a little bit. I was watching a little bit of your stream the other day, and you mentioned that you were a little bit late to the party. So how's the team looking? Is it complete? Have you decided to go all in?
Usually, so for NASCAR fantasy, it's you select different like there's like 4 things like prop bets you're essentially making. It's not actual money. And you're
Uh,
selecting which driver you think is going to do well in that race. And then you have your driver stack. I think I'm just learning who's consistent, whether or not they win the race or win the stage, which stages we can have a whole other podcast about, or just NASCAR in general. But no, definitely learning the personalities, people's favorites, who's good at what track and why, and certain things with the cars they've adjusted, even though they're stock cars, it's crazy how much variability there is in certain decisions, whether it's tires, etc. So yeah, figuring it out. How do I get you into NASCAR? How do we do that?
I'm down. I'm down.
Oh, done. Easy. That was
Move on.
We've won. I've done my job.
No, to be fair, I tried watching a few NASCAR races on and off recently. I saw the Jenson Button news where I think he's taken part in 3 or 4 races this year, which is going to be pretty cool. I was due to come to the US this year and come to a couple of NASCAR races and go to Indy 500. I will message you offline as to why that's not happening. It's a positive thing.
Okay, yay! Sorry, I was like, oh no, oh yay!
No, but I think there's definitely a NASCAR shaped hole in my heart for me to fill. So
nice,
something which I'll be more than happy to get into. Ash, I realise that we're at the end of our time. I don't want to keep you any longer. I know it's coming up to 3:30, 3:35, which is food time technically in my life anyway. But is there anything that you'd like to let my listeners, either my new listeners, because I've got a bunch of you, so thank you for tuning in, or anyone who's listened to our previous episode before, know about you, your community, or your show?
This is not about me. This is about you, Miles. So keep listening to Miles' podcast. Keep supporting him. Keep recommending guests. Please get it on here. Anyone you want to hear, let Miles know. He'll reach out to them. This is a great podcast to be on. No, I'm all set. You can just follow me on Ash Vandelay, any social media, but otherwise, I just talk a lot. That's all you need to know about me.
Awesome. Well, look, Ash, thank you once again. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. I'm sure we'll catch up and definitely catch up in person at a race or 2 in the future.
Yes,
so everyone, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next one.